everyone, I'm Nikki. Thanks so much for stopping by my channel. Today we are going to be looking at this card, and don't give up on me if you're not a hockey fan. But what we're going to do is look at adding extra detail with stitching to our dies. We're going to be using this O Canada stamp set from Catherine Pooler. This is brand new, out in stores tomorrow and out for Stamp Nation members today. So what we're going to do is use these sentiments, which are also new. I'm going to use the Superstar, way to go Superstar, and I'm going to use the hockey skates, and we're going to add stitching to these dies, and it is going to be so cute to lace up these hockey skates. Okay, so I'm not going to do a whole lot of stamping that is different colors. I'm basically just going to use Midnight, which is the really dark black ink that Catherine Pooler has, and stamp this hockey skate. Then we're going to add details with the stitching. We're going to add some embossing. We're just going to make this skate as cute as it possibly can be. It's hard to believe it starts out as just this blank black skate, but let me show you what we can do with it. Before I do anything else, I do want to go ahead and die cut this because it's a little easier to hang on to, and to get our stitching holes in it, we're going to need it to be a little bit smaller. So I'm going to cut this, send this through the die cutting machine and cut it out. Now let's create our blade, okay? So I'm going to use an embossing pen. You could use an embossing pad if you could get this small of a detail, but the blade is that very bottom level right there. So I decided a pen would probably be the easiest, and I'm going to use my powder tool on the whole skate, which just to make sure that I don't get any of this silver that I'm going to use on the blade anywhere else. So I'm just adding a little bit of powder, and then I'm going to draw carefully a line along the edge of that skate. And yes, I know it's black beneath it, but we're going to put silver embossing powder over it, so it's not going to show the black part of this. Now I'm going to dip the skate in the silver embossing powder and tap it off. So you'll see I've got a little bit of embossing powder higher than my skate, so I can always use a tiny brush and brush off that excess to make sure I've got it in the right spot. Once I've got all of this brushed off, I'm going to heat it up, and we're going to have a beautiful skate blade. Check out this cute skate. So that is an embossing powder from Altenew called Antique Silver. Next, what we need is a hole puncher, and we need it to be a 1/16 inch hole puncher. So this that I'm using right here is called a Crocodile. It's made by We Are Memory Keepers, and if you can see, I'm going to really zoom in so you can see, but I can see the white and the black. Since they're such contrasting colors, I can follow the white to the end to create a hole for the laces. And it does take a little bit of messing, but it's so nice that the colors are so drastically different that I can see them through that tiny hole. So I'm just going to follow the pattern that's already on the stamp and create holes at the end of each of the laces so that I can lace this skate up with thread and give it a really cool 3D effect. So I'm going to continue and punch all the holes in both skates. We're going to use 2 skates in our picture. So once that's done, look how cute that looks. And it doesn't even have the thread in there yet. All right, look at how cute these look. So we've got the holes there. We've got our heat embossing already done. Now let's add some stitching. So I grabbed the thread that I'm going to use, and I just used a thick white thread that I thought looked like hockey laces. And I'm going to come from the back of the shoe and pull this through. And I gave myself plenty of room so that I can tie these laces together at the top. So I've got the end cut here, and I'm going to add a piece of tape to hold it instead of doing something like tying a knot so that it's as flat as it can be. And I use double-sided adhesive, but you can use any type of tape that you want to hold it down. It's not going to be seen. I just used this because it was very skinny and I wanted to make sure it fit on the back. But that's just going to hold my thread in place. And now we're going to start stitching. I thought that this looked best with going through the hole twice and then moving. So you can see it gets kind of stuck around the toe, but you can move it and see I've got 2 through that loop. Then I'm going to go through this one twice. It's not a full 2 loops. It's coming through that hole once, going back through it, and then going to the next one. And that makes 2 loops of the laces. And I just thought the laces looked best if you could see a lot of them. I didn't want this to go unnoticed because it is an extra detail that's really cool. The type of paper I'm using here is just regular cardstock, regular weight, I guess. It's the Nina Solar White. I think it's 80 pounds, so it's not a super stiff cardstock, and it's holding up great with this stitching. So once I get to the top and do my couple loops, I'm gonna leave myself a long tail on this so that I can tie the skates together. So you'll see me leave, I do go through twice and then leave a loop, and this was to decide if I wanted the laces to hang down or if I wanted to tie the skates together, which is what a lot of people do to carry their skates. And I left about 6 inches, which is probably way more than you need. I just wanted to be safe. I'm going to finish out the stitching, and then we're going to create the rest of the card. The tips and tricks that we're using for the rest of the card, I'm going to make an ice rink, and I'm going to do this using the around the loop nested dies and just some masking tape, and we're going to create our own little hockey rink. Then we are going to do some water stamping, and I'm going to show you how that works and to create a really cool background. And this may not be the perfect hockey rink, but it works great and looks really cool, and I think people get the idea. So I just drew some straight lines and masked off a little area, and now I'm going to use Juniper Mist lightly with a blending brush to create the lines that are underneath the ice at a hockey rink. I'm not going to worry about being super neat about this because we're going to do a layer of color over this that is going to be the ice. So just get some color down. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'll move this tape and mask off the other little line and put down some Juniper Mist in that same area. And then we'll need the center red circle that goes in a hockey rink. And I'm going to show you how I did this. It's really quite humorous. I'm realigning this masking tape to do the other stripe, but I was looking around my craft room and trying to figure out what I was going to use for this small circle in the middle, and this is what I found on the ground of my craft room and ended up using for the circle. It's a scrap piece of paper from another project, and it had this little small circle cut out of the middle, so I decided I would just use that and some masking tape and not worry about trying to find the perfect circle when I had one right there on the floor. So I'm using this little circle, and I'm going to ink blend inside of it with peppermint scrub. All right, so I just added a little peppermint scrub in the middle to give myself the red center circle. And now we are going to do the ice. I'm going to use Hot Tub as my color. I thought about going direct to paper and trying to make some lines in it like it had cuts in the ice, but I decided that would make it a little darker than what I was going for, so I decided to ink blend this over the top of the other colors, and I think it makes a really cool ice color. And that, once again, that's Hot Tub. So here's our cute little hockey rink. It's not perfect ink blending, but it doesn't need to be because ice is not perfect. I decided to use blackjack as my background, so this is what the hockey rink is going to sit on. And I thought about just using straight black paper, but I decided I wanted to do a really cool technique that I don't know if you've seen before. So what we're gonna do is I'm using direct to paper with the ink pad, and I don't have to color this all the way in because the ice rink is gonna be in the middle of this. So I'm taking the blackjack and creating a really dark gray color. So just going around the edges, I'll make sure that my hockey rink fits in the middle. And you don't worry too much about lines because we're going to do a cool effect that's going to change this background a little bit. And here's how those colors look together. You see, I really wanted to add some detail to that background. So we're going to do water stamping. So I've got this background stamp, Diamonds Are Forever. I've sprayed water on it, and I'll show you that step again because I'm gonna do it several times. Now I'm gonna press down and get some good coverage, and you see that it's wet right there. So you can dry that off and remove color, or you can let it dry the way it is. I like to, especially in the bigger areas, kind of soak up some of that because it'll leave a white area. And I also like to dry off my stamp because you've pulled ink onto your stamp, so you want to dry it off before you do round 2. And you see I'm wiping around too because I'm just using a spray bottle to get water on there, and so I don't want those drips to drip down on my paper. So since I'm spraying like this I don't know if you can tell that it's spraying. I don't want the drips from anywhere to kind of get on the paper and change up the design. So I usually in between dry off the stamp and dry around it a little bit. And I like doing this. You can do this until you get the look that you want. So I'm going to take color off. I want to be able to see this definition and see that there's a difference in the background. So I'm going to do it, I think, 4 times, and then I'm going to let that panel dry because it will be slightly wet from being stamped on with water. Check out how cool that looks. I just love it. It looks like a sweater. I used the sentiment from the new set, Just Right Duos, and that's these sentiments. So it's got Way to Go Superstar, and then of course it has some little stars and hearts that come with that, so I decided it definitely needed some stars around it, and I added those with whipped honey. And then now let's put this card together. I wanted to tie these skates together like there was a bow, but I needed to hold the string taut so that I could make sure I got my skates stuck down. So I did add a little bit of foam tape behind each skate, and I'm just going to kind of adjust them so that you can see that pretty stitching, and it just looks kind of cute in the middle. I'm just going to grab those strings, pull them to the back of the card, and tape them down. It doesn't matter what kind of tape you want to use here, but keep those down. And then I'm going to add a bow at the top, making it look like they're tied. Now you could try to tie these at the top, but it's hard to keep them pulled tight and tie a bow perfectly. So I just pulled these 2 to the back, and then I'm going to put a bow on the front. Look at how cute this looks up close. I tied a little knot at the end of the bow strings too, because that's the way that laces are. I just thought that looked kind of cute. So I just love it. I think it's so cute. My kid's gonna love this card for his birthday. He's such a hockey player. So I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope you learned some new techniques today, and make sure you go and check out the Catherine Pooler release. I have the link in my description, so hit that button to help me out, and have a great day, guys. If you loved this video, check out this next one I'm going to pop up for you. I think you'd really like this as well. Have a great day. Bye.